Today I decided to get Infinity and explain how I did it so you all can hit that on your Zoominoes adventures. One of the reasons that this is important, especially for the 100%ers on Steam, is there is actually a achievement for hitting Infinity on one animal. So this was done on the lowest difficulty just to showcase how it's done. If you want to see me do it in director difficulty, definitely let me know. And I am sorry for how the fox sounds. There's nothing I can really do about it. But the early game is pretty easy. The reason I decided to do it on the lower difficulty is you get one extra play, which is one extra gold. I got really lucky here with a double prize, which means that every play that I have left over is now worth 2 gold, which is very nice. It also doesn't take nearly as many plays because the goal is so much lower on the base difficulty compared to Director, which is what I've played almost all of my games on. So with this, you just kind of put whatever will give you the most points, and you should always be able to meet your goal, which is very nice. It allows you to focus on making money for the important stuff. Now, later in this video, I will be showing you exactly what I avoid that most people probably instantly take, which is why I think Infinity is way easier than most people actually think. Now, I tend to not pick up too many of the early game animals because most of them are not the greatest, and the most important thing when it comes to doing any sort of deck game and pushing it to the limits is having a guaranteed hand every time, every run. And so for this specifically, you want to have the smallest deck possible, so unless it's going to make you money, generate you snacks, or get you more plays, it's not really that worth it. So as you can see, I did take this one thing because I'm going to feed it basically whatever I have every single round. One thing will do the job. So even the snow cones count as a snack. So even if it's already blue, you can give it a blue snow cone and it'll still generate you another snack. So you can basically look at it as if it is trading a snow cone for another snack, as you can see right here. And I got a ghost pepper, which ghost peppers are probably one of the most valuable things you can get, at least in the early game until your deck is in the right amount. And then there's a couple really important things late game that you want to focus on. Now, I was thinking of using the shark to deck fix. However, now that I have this transforming thing, I decided to use that and just try to transform my bad ones into better animals. I also got the tortoise there because I personally feel like the tortoise is pretty good for if you're getting any source of gems, because he doubles the effect and every single gem you get is beneficial to him. However, looking at it in hindsight, it's not worth it because of how unbelievably low the goal is. Now, this Vogelkop is actually very, very important because it basically does what the maze does as a souvenir, except only on the Vogelkop itself. However, I would definitely recommend picking it up, at least to have one. That way, if you don't see the maze early, or if you want to follow this exact strategy, you can apply all of your bonus point stuff to the Vogelkop, and it'll always be permanent. So then, as soon as you get to this point is when I would start trimming your deck and only go for stuff that will increase the Vogelkop points specifically. This is also how you can win your rounds, so you really don't have to worry about it too much. And the goal here is to just put it at the top every round, as that's a +5, and then obviously if you put it on any plus spaces, that is good as well. But as you can see right here, even though that was +1 play, whatever, I don't think it's worth it because it could clutter my deck a little too much. As you can see, we also are specifically putting one candy on this crow basically every time we can see it, and transforming anything that doesn't seem too beneficial, because even if it's something bad, we're going to get rid of it later anyways. And we got lucky with a goose, which is +3 every time I play it. Now, I was thinking about the crocodile, however, it's just not really that needed, considering how rich we are from having the double plays and being able to win so much faster in this lower difficulty. So here, I'm mostly looking for ghost peppers, basically anything that would affect my Vogelkop, and I get a double gem, or gems are doubled, and a 20 gem for Sky specifically, because I had already gotten so many from the rock candies from the crow. Very, very nice. And I'm just kind of taking whatever I think would be beneficial at all. Now, one thing that I would say when it comes to this run in particular, and if you're going for Infinity yourself, is do not go for stuff that makes one snack go on either your whole hand, another animal, or your whole deck. The reason this is bad is because deck fixing becomes very complicated. So like one ghost pepper that you put on one of your things could get rid of one of your point generators, one of your money generators, one of your like, you know, additional procking like a kangaroo or something like that. It's just really bad and you can't get rid of it or disable it. So I just tend to not get it at all. Now here I was trying to get the goose, but it wouldn't have mattered anyways. And if you want to go through this, I think Kitsune now is really good because it transforms the leftmost into a mythic. So you basically, it's basically like using a mythic soda on the left side. And when you have a lot of bad zoo animals, then it's pretty worth to throw in there. Now what I did here is when you play at the top, because of one of my souvenirs, you get +5 if it's a Sky character. So I just played the Vogelkop at the top twice, and now we got the lemur, which is one of the most important things for the strategy that I kind of went with for this infinity. Now I hit the infinity very quickly. As you can see, I am getting a little bit lucky, and I have so much money that I'm able to look through a bunch of souvenirs every single time. I would pretty much pick the mirror space up every single time you see it, and until your board is kind of set in stone, I would recommend picking up the pancakes, the ghost peppers, and the 3 ghost pepper combo as well, as those are very good as well. So yeah. But as you can see, I also got that double jacket, which basically just doubles all the effects of everything I play forever. So pretty insane. And then I do a land transformation and get a kangaroo. It's completely broken. I'm not saying I didn't get lucky, but this is very achievable. I'm pretty sure I got Infinity like 10 days early or something. So as you can see, you can definitely do it for yourself. Now, here's where I got a little bit flustered on what to do, because I had 2 Kitsunes, and I couldn't play the one on the leftmost. If I played the one, on the rightmost, if I played the one on the leftmost, then it would have gotten rid of the lemur, and I needed the lemur and the kangaroo most importantly. So I ended up having to kind of get rid of a lot of the stuff in my deck. I still wanted to play the kangaroo plus lemur, but I needed the Vogelkop to be in my hand. So I just ended up getting rid of a bunch of stuff and hoping for the best. I didn't end up pulling it, but now I can play the red panda somewhere random, and now I can play the lemur. Now, of course, we want to play it specifically in the mirror slot to just give even more to our Vogelkop, so I decided to put it as my rainbow snow cone user and then throw him in there. And now with the kangaroo, it works even more. So just there alone, we took the Vogelkop from 50 to 3,500, and keep in mind this is all multipliers, so it's only going to get crazier from here. Now, we also are still using the transforming to our advantage with whatever stuff isn't good, just in the off chance that we get something that is, because it doesn't really hurt to do. Whenever you see the groundhogs thing, I always buy it, because it's just one extra day you have to hit infinity. As you may or may not know, on day 56 the game basically ends, as the goal is infinity, and then there is no day after that. Now, depending on if you do end up taking any of those things that will make one snack on one person go on a different and whatever, then you can basically stop using ghost peppers, super ghost peppers, whatever, but you'd have to use something like a shark or something or crocodile to trim your deck, which gets a little complicated when you have mirror slots everywhere, as by the end of the game, the ideal would be to have basically your whole board mirror only. The plus slots are actually bad for you, as it makes it so you can't put a mirror and it won't be permanent. So like, for example, if you get the shark, like the Jaws or Megalodon or whatever it's called, that puts 20 on everything, you basically can't do this strategy unless you get a full snack, 10 snacks of mirrors. Then you'd have to hit it in that one round. It's a little complicated, so that's why I recommend also avoiding that mythical zoo animal in particular. The Griffin is very good, however, you don't need it. So even though I go it in this run, looking back on it, I would recommend not going it, as you basically only need 2 characters towards the end, and you'll get, E30 every time if you have the right deck. And it's very simple. You don't need that much. Just Vogelkop, Kangaroo, Lemur, and 1 or 2 others. And that way, once you have it every single round, you just throw that in there. Hopefully you don't actually win before getting your combo off every round, which is why I was debating on whether or not I would even take the maze if I saw it, because the Vogelkop being the one with the buffs is perfect because it's permanent on the Vogelkop, it's not permanent on the other ones. So for example, you could throw a Lemur in and a Kangaroo, and it won't get nearly as many points because it'll only get it from some of the relics that are like, permanent buff if you play 2 next to each other and stuff like that. Whereas the Lemur is not permanent unless you have the maze. So it would be permanent on the Vogelkop, it wouldn't be permanent on everyone else, and it's actually a good thing to have it like that, because then you can play the Lemur and the Kangaroo or whatever you're comboing every single time. However, this only works if your deck is small enough to be able to always pull your Vogelkop, because if you, let's say, don't do any permanent bonuses and then you don't get the Vogelkop within your plays, then you will just lose because you're not getting that many stats for anything else. Fish eggs is not very needed. That's another thing that I was thinking was needed. However, not really. You definitely want to pick up this pack every time you see it, as there are some good mythics, specifically the ones that I'm picking up here. I would not go the Naga because, like I said, there are certain souvenirs you don't want. Now, so I tend to only go for ones that I can kind of control. Now, you could always get Infinity while having every souvenir in the game. However, that's not the way that I chose to do it, as I feel like this is kind of the easiest, just making sure you only buy the souvenirs that you want, not let the game decide. This Narwhal here for 7 on the right side, the plushie, is insanely OP. Basically, anytime you give something to your hands, it's tripled, which is insane, obviously, for many reasons, but for the most important reason is it's permanent on the Vogelkop. So as long as you have that, then you are chilling. And it makes it super OP if you're playing the Quetzalcoatl or the Lemur. Basically anything that gives stuff in your hands, that's just a completely broken thing. Now the Pterodactyl is pretty good, however, once you get the maze or something along those lines, it does become a bit less useful, specifically because you need to have the Lemur down first, and then you want to have the Kangaroo in there as well, and then you would want to put the Pterodactyl, but eventually you will just, even without the maze, you will get some permanent buffs that end up making it not ideal. So if you can get away with just going Lemur, Quetzalcoatl, Kangaroo, Vogelkop, then that would probably be ideal. There is one mythical animal that is pretty OP. However, I'll show you when I get it because I don't know what it's named by default. So throwing this in here, having a Pterodactyl right now in particular would be pretty decent, because putting it next to the Lemur, the 2 Lemurs, would of course be better than having the 1 Kangaroo. So it's kind of up to you, but it is decent. I wouldn't necessarily take that or that row that I've been kind of just putting in the starting space, so I don't have to play anything too strong. Now, we are coming towards the end of the kind of strategy part. At some point, it becomes literally just playing the same characters over and over, and then letting the game play itself. Ideally, you would be putting the lemurs in the mirror slots, but I didn't have the mirror slots close enough, and the goal score was so low that I kind of pretty easily got near there. I'm looking for my other lemur right here. However, everything wins, so didn't really matter in the end. But as you can see, the stuff does go crazy on each other when you do put two kangaroos next to each other. But there are some specific combos that I was looking for. There is one specific mythical animal that is extremely OP for the strategy and is actually better than playing the lemur or the pterodactyl. It just kind of combines the kangaroo and the lemur's ability, so playing a bunch of those with those in your hand is completely broken. But unfortunately for me, I didn't hit it for a while, so all I was saying with what I just said is that hitting infinity earlier is still possible. It's not like I had the perfect combo, but this is what worked for me. And when you have a mirror slot around the starting slot, it's actually really easy to do this combo. As you can see, this is pretty much what you're going to look to do every single round until you get that specific one that I was just talking about. So I'm probably not going to yap too much more. I'm going to probably talk back next time I get something that changes the strategy. However, for now, basically, you just want lemur, kangaroo, and then a bunch of mirror slots, so it does this every single round, and a deck small enough to be able to do it. Hopefully you are enjoying the video so far. I will get all of my thoughts together for a written guide on how to do infinity. If it feels like I was kind of all over the place in this video, then I apologize. Now, if this video does decent, then I will probably go back to doing the director difficulty on all the characters. I think we have about 6, maybe even 7 posted so far on the channel, but we can still do all the rest of them. I just stopped doing it because I didn't want to spam the channel too much with something that wasn't necessarily getting received as well as I would have hoped. But this is still a great game, and I definitely am open to running some more of it. As you can see right here, I didn't have the right hand, so I kind of had to try to play whatever I could to not hit it, but as you can see, you're kind of gonna hit it when you put 2 kangaroos in there. But yeah, long story short, if you want to see more of this game, definitely let me know, and we can go back to what we were doing. But also, writing a written guide will be coming very soon for the Infinity specifically, and then when I do finish the series for the Director difficulty, I will do a written guide for that as well. Just so you know, around this point, all you basically want is to trim your deck even more. You want around 4 or 5 cards that are the exact combo that you want. The only other thing you really want to buy is mirror shards or mirror spaces, whatever. So you can get cheese, but it doesn't really matter that much because it will only go on the one thing, and 2 times doesn't really make that big of a difference in the grand scheme of things, considering you're doing 4 times like 50 times in a round. Obviously, if you wanted to min-max, you can, but if you didn't really want to that much, I would just focus on just making your deck as small as possible. That way you can every single time play your 2 units, and then have the combo win for you. All right, now Tanuki is what I was talking about earlier when I said that there is something that is better than both the kangaroo and lemur in terms of playing, as it kind of has the same effect as both. So if you just put them kind of in a bunch of mirror shards, you are going to have a good time as long as you have the lemur and the kangaroo in your hand. Now, that's not hard to do if you've already trimmed your deck. If you did go something that, for example, that will make your whole hand or your whole deck get affected by whatever your snack is, that's why it's horrible, because then you wouldn't be able to trim your deck and you would have some absolutely insane hands that just don't work or just win. And keep in mind, around this time in the game, if you're going for infinity, any round that ends without you putting out your combo that scales is a wasted day, which is a pretty big deal considering, like I said, you have 56 days total to, or 57, I guess, if you count the fact that you get the -1 to hit your infinity. It's not hard to do, and I do hit it very, very soon. As you can see, these rounds are getting absolutely out of hand. And I'm at 172 now. I'm pretty sure I double that in the next 7 days. So, yeah, it's not too bad, but you definitely want to keep some of this stuff in mind. You don't have to imply every single strategy and kind of tip that I've given. I'm just telling you everything that I think could help. And multiple kangaroos, the Quetzalcoatl, stuff like that is not actually that important anymore, as I do now have my whole combo. And I basically just want to play a Tanuki every single time with some of this stuff in my hand. And yeah, I think I don't even need the pterodactyl anymore. So other than that, that's about it for the strategy. For the rest of this, it's literally just letting the game play itself and just playing the same stuff over and over. This is, as you can see, even with just Tanuki and the Quetzalcoatl, it goes pretty crazy because the Quetzalcoatl is giving whatever the Tanuki is, and the Tanuki's all around it. So this would be a pretty ideal combo in it of itself. However, it scales really crazy because they are all permanent if you have the Vogelkop in your hand. So the only downside to this specific two animal combo is you'll only be able to play it once or twice before, if you're playing on a low difficulty, you're going to kind of outscale it and you'll only be able to play one. So keep that in mind. But other than that, that's about it for the voiceover. There's not much else to say. As you can see, my Vogelkop got about 60 E's, so 60 zeros added to the 1.11. So pretty insane, and we just had to follow the formula, and we're going to get there. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. I hope you enjoyed this so far. And if you did, like, comment, subscribe, so I know that this is something that you're interested in. And be on the lookout for a written guide very soon. Thanks you all so much for watching. I am going to let the rest of the video play out now. And I hope you have a blessed morning, evening, and afternoon. Peace out, y'all.